Thanks for coming out today. What a great crowd. Thanks for welcoming RA to campus in a really special way. RA, we've got standing room only around the back. I don't know whether you've seen that, but that's a real tribute to you. So about 4 years ago, the College of Business was very concerned about all these headlines that many of you grew up reading in the newspaper about business people who could not seem to conduct themselves the right way. They cheated, they stole, they got sent to prison. It was just terrible what we were all reading in the newspapers and what we still read about too often in the newspapers. So we decided that we would try to do something about that. We wanted to create an award. We call it the Hero of Business Award, and a couple of times a year we try to bring people to campus that are great examples for all of us, not only from a standpoint of business success, but also from a standpoint of spiritual success. People that have done it the right way, people that have maintained their moral integrity and high character, despite the fact that they may have been in high places and had many temptations, they've been able to do things the right way. And I hope this series of people that we've brought and will continue to bring, Lord willing, will be great examples for you and for us that there are people like that and that we can be like that as Christians. So today we're honored to honor R.A. Dickey. My goodness, who knew when we picked this date way back in February that it would be the day after R.A. Dickey would be awarded the National League Cy Young Award as the best pitcher. So, R.A., I'm going to claim that you and I could foresee this happening, you know, and don't tell them otherwise, okay? Just kind of keep the story going. But the truth is, we just kind of picked this at random. I called him up and I said, R.A., I just finished reading your book. And if you haven't read his book, I'd strongly urge you to go out and get a copy of it, wherever I wind up. It came out just about the time spring training started last spring. So I called him up right after the book came out and I said, man, I read that book and we've got to have you at Lipscomb. We really would like to honor you as a hero of business. Will you come to campus? And R.A. said, man, I would really like to come, but I'm not coming until the World Series is over. And I said, okay, R.A., because I knew he played for the Mets, you know. And I'm trying to figure out, well, why would that matter? And so I said, okay, R.A., that's cool. And he said, no, I'm really serious. He said, you know, I think we're going to have a pretty good team this year. And who knows, man, I might be pitching in the World Series. I might be pitching in the 7th game of the World Series. I said, hey, that's cool. Pick a date, you know, between the end of the World Series and Thanksgiving. So we picked November 15th. And who knew, R.A., you and I are trying to make our plans, just like the Bible says, you know, we make our best plans. But God had another plan. And it wasn't the World Series. It was a season for the ages, one of the best seasons ever for a pitcher, the best season ever for a knuckleball pitcher. And last night, when R.A. Dickey was awarded the National League Cy Young Award, he became the first knuckleball pitcher in the history of Major League Baseball to ever win the Cy Young Award. What a great honor for R.A. Dickey. And here he is today at Lipscomb University. Does it get any better than that? So thank you, R.A., for being here. I want you to come up to the stage now, and we want to give you the Hero of Business Award. And they want to hear from you, not me, so I'm going to get out of your way. R.A. is going to share with you from the heart. But, R.A., I hope you'll tell them a little bit about some of the struggles you've had coming along. If you haven't read the book, you don't know maybe some of the perseverance that he's had to have, both as an athlete as well as a husband, father, just a Christian. R.A. has struggled and has overcome those struggles and has maintained his faith, and I'm proud today to stand on this stage not only as your Christian brother, but also just with you, a sinner redeemed by grace. We all are. We're all equal in that. But you are a hero of business. I had a CEO, by the way, the other day say, R.A. Dickey, CEO, he's not a CEO. How come he's getting the Hero of Business Award? I said, man, have you seen how much this cat makes? I said, how much is your base comp, buddy? And he said, you know, you're right. I think he's a business guy. So RA, congratulations on being this fall's hero of business.
Thank you.
You want me to hang on to that?
Thank you. Thank you. You can sit down. If you only knew. Y'all are going to make me emotional. It's going to be hard. It's been yesterday was a long day, and I'm emotionally raw, so if I start weeping, somebody bring me a tissue, okay? We couldn't have planned it any better. I mean, the first public appearance post-Cy Young to be with you guys, I mean, how cool is that? That's pretty fun. So God knew exactly what he was doing for me to be in a room full of just brothers and sisters in Christ the day after such a fantastic thing has happened. I mean, it was meant to be this way. So please know that you're not here by accident to celebrate this with me. I feel like I should have brought I guess what, about 500 or 600 cupcakes. So we could have made this a Cy Young party. That would have been fun. Look, the only thing that really qualifies me to be up here is that I am the king of mistake making. That is really why I'm here. The Cy Young is, sure, it's a beautiful thing and it's fun and it's the culmination of a lot of things. Least of all are people who have invested in me, poured into me in a way that has transformed my life. But there's another side of the coin too, as there most always is. And that for me is really the part of my life that I learned the most from, probably got the most out of. Came near death. If you've read the book, you know that, but I've come near death quite a few times. But that to me is what makes this story of redemption so fantastic, is because there's another side of the coin, and that coin is dirty and ugly and scraped up and bent and broken and fractured. Like it's, you remember, I don't know if you guys ever did this, but sometimes just to kill time, I would go and I would set a penny on a railroad track, right? And the railroad, the train runs over it, and it's all bent and flat, and you can't make out what president's on the back and all that mess. Well, that's me. I'm bent and been run over, and I say that to you because I think that's something that we all share, right? I mean, and if you haven't shared some adversity in your life, if you haven't had adversity in your life, it's going to come in the form of a broken relationship or a sick parent or a death in the family or a broken marriage. And the list goes on and on. Just turn on CNN every day and you can see what's going on in the world to know that we live in a broken place. And I am fractured and broken, and I'm thankful that I am also a child of the living God. And that's special for me. And that's the one thing, when I came to know Christ at the age of 13, I didn't necessarily know what I was doing. I felt like I might not ever be alone again, but I didn't necessarily feel like I wouldn't be lonely. And I was lonely for quite some time. I was sexually abused when I was 8 years old, and that will create a wake of destruction as you grow if you don't deal with it, and I didn't. And I made a lot of mistakes. A lot of the things outside my control that I had no control over that happened to me, and then I made a lot of poor judgments. Nearly wrecked my marriage. I tried to, there were many times when I contemplated suicide. And the one thing that happened, the one thing that kept me hanging on in the darkest moments when I was trying to become someone new, when God had brought me to the end of myself and said, RA, I want a different life for you, but you're going to have to let go. And I was thinking about what hose I was going to attach to the tailpipe or what tree around the corner I was going to go into at 80 miles an hour without a seatbelt on. I mean, I was close. But I never felt completely alone. And it was because of that, and because I had invited Christ so long ago to come into my life, that I had hope. And that's what Christ gives us. He gives us hope. And it may get dark. And it's been dark for me for a long time. And so do not lose heart. Do not lose heart. And you may not see, and when you look at your life and project out, you may not see it getting any better. But do not lose hope. That was me. And we all share that, right, as humanity? Right? We all share this common denominator that at some point we're all going to have adversity. We're bonded by that, whether you're a believer or not, right? We're all going to have it. And whether you acknowledge it or not, it's coming. So, for me, when God had brought me to the end of myself and introduced me to a man here locally named Stephen, who was a counselor and has become a dear friend, he taught me how to live differently. And it was from that moment forward that I began to put the pieces back together. But I had to embrace things that I was very uncomfortable embracing. Being a victim of sexual abuse, you never trust another person from that moment on, and I didn't. I would project out who I wanted people to believe I was, this Christian guy who had it all together, because I was scared to death that somebody might see inside and know that I was broken apart. And the great lie that's perpetrated when a tragedy like that occurs in your life, and maybe you have experience with this, or maybe the chances are that you know someone who has had experience with this, is that if you tell somebody when you're young or even when you're old that they're going to throw up their hands and they're going to want to run the other way, and you're already devastated and broken inside, and you think you don't want to be reminded of that fact, so you keep it inside and you keep walking forward, and the whole while you develop these toxic things that keep you from being who God's authentically created you to be. And that was how it was in my life. And I made some very poor choices along the way. And I had some things happen to me that weren't my fault. And I had to come to grips with what was it going to be like to trust another human. I was 32 years old. I'm 38 now. I was 32 years old when I told the first person about that. And it wasn't my wife, which is really scary. So not only that, I had convinced my wife that she had married somebody that I really wasn't, because I was good. I was good at manipulating, because that's what you have to be when you're trying to survive. You've got to be good at reading people and knowing people and sitting in the shadows and hiding. And I was great at it. I was the James Bond of that. You know, I could do that well. But when somebody wanted to tap in, I would vacate. You know, I was gone. And so I had a lot of superficial relationships, but I never let anybody inside because I was scared to death to trust another human being. And in 2006, I started, after God had brought me to the end of myself and said, RA, I want to make you somebody different. I started slowly but surely reaching out and trying to trust someone. It started with Stephen. Then it carried over to my wife, and I started to realize that I had been missing the boat on so many different areas in my life, that God has really designed us for relationship. And what does that really mean? Well, I think what it really means is this, and this is why I think my professional life as a knuckleball pitcher, as an athlete, and my personal life away from baseball, they've kind of paralleled. And things have happened in a way that it's been great. And I've learned a lot about myself. And I have by no means arrived. I am a work in progress and will continue to be this side of eternity. Okay? But God gives me glimpses behind the curtain when I start to take the chance and risk doing things that were once uncomfortable for me. Whether it's investing in a relationship, because that's what God, I feel like, has designed us for. And what that means to me is He wants me to live the next 5 minutes well. That's what He wants me to do. That's my responsibility. And I'm not going to go so far as to say that's your responsibility, because I'm not here to tell you how to live or preach to you. I'm here to share with you what God's done in my life. And maybe that motivates you to do something. Maybe it doesn't. But that's my responsibility. How do I live the next 5 minutes well? And how do I do that over and over and over again so that at the end of the day, I don't look back and have 5,000 regrets? And so it's risky to do that. God's given me this moment with you guys. He's given me these moments. He's given me the next 13 minutes to be here and be with you. And that's important for me. That's a gift. And so I want to be fully invested. And there was a time in my life where I did not want to invest in any person, anything that had roots, anything that reminded me of how broken I was. Well, the truth of it is, we're all broken, right? And that's the whole reason we need Christ. That's the whole reason we need a dynamic relationship with a living God, is because we are broken. Now, that doesn't always mean it's going to end up as a Cy Young Award winner. In this case, God has a huge imagination, and this is what he's doing with my narrative. And I'm not going to gripe about it, believe me. But next year, it might not be this way. And believe me, there's an adversity coming for me. Now, I don't sit there like I used to and try to predict the next trauma that's around the corner. That's what I used to do, because that was my story. I was afraid of being hurt. I was afraid of letting people in close. I was afraid that there was going to be some abuse around the next corner. And that was my story. Now God's making a different story. And such it is with everyone in here. And will continue to be this organic relationship that you have where you feel so far away from him, but not far enough where he can't grab you and pull you where he wants to be. I felt, and look, I never let go of my faith. I never said, you know, God, you do not exist. Jesus, you're a bunch of bull. I never said that. And I'm thankful for that, because he showed me how long his reach was when I was getting in the car to start it with a garden hose attached to a tailpipe. And so I share this with you transparently because I feel like that's what I'm called to do. But it's hard, and I'm taking a risk in that, because I'm asking you to hold my story in a way that is gentle. You know, and I haven't always been able to do that. So this is a milestone for me. I've written about it in a book, and there's something very permanent about the written word. But to stand in front of people and really bare your soul, you're asking that other person to hold you gently. And so I heard a lyric. I don't know, do you guys listen to Toby Mac at all? I love Toby Mac. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Okay. Well, I love him. And there's a lyric in one of his songs, or it might not even be a lyric, but it's in like one of his live albums when he's talking or kind of sharing in between songs. And he says at one point that what's going to stop a world in its tracks? It's certainly not going to be my words. You know, it's not going to be this book, although the hope is that someone is going to be impacted in a positive way by this. It's how we love people. It's how we love each other. That is what's going to stop a world in its tracks. And whether it's me in this moment with you, trying to love you well as I know you, by giving you who I fully am, or it's in your relationships with your girlfriends, on your teams, or in a business culture, or who knows how. And it's messy. Like, God invites you into relationship, and it's messy. Okay? It is. But at the end of the day, when you make a connection, not only with the living God, but with another person that can share your story and hold it in a way that's gentle and kind and tender, it moves you. It changes you. And I'm changed. I'm changed in this moment, and I've been changing ever since. I think I took the risk of trusting someone. And that is the dirty side of the coin for me. And there's a lot of other dirt that's laying on that coin and that I don't have time to share with you. So believe me, I'm not up here because I'm a Cy Young Award winner or because, you know, I've done some great thing. I'm up here because I am the product of the mercy and grace of a living God. And this is how he has designed my story. And everybody's different. And I have a responsibility to it. But let me tell you, and let me admit it to all of you who want to put me up on some pedestal. Don't. Because I'm going to mess it up. I'm going to mess it up in some way, and I'm going to have to repent for it because I'm not perfect. And hopefully I won't mess it up to the degree where it makes it in the papers and I'm having to call one of you to come get me out of jail. Let's hope it's not that, obviously. But I'm gonna mess it up. One of the single most gifts I can give my children is when I harm them in some way, whether it's by an evil glance or a hurtful word or a raising of my voice, I give them a gift when I go before them and tell them, I messed that up. I am so sorry. And I have the freedom to repent to them. It gives them something that they're not going to get out there. Please remember that when you're in relationship. I certainly have had to lean on that and have seen that manifested in my own relationship with my wife. I had to trust my wife with my abuse and with things that would probably destroy most marriages and say, honey, I've blown it, completely blown it, and I have to be okay if you want to walk away. God's got a story for me beyond this if you want to walk away, and I've got to be okay with this, but I love you, and I want to be with you, and this is who I am, and I'm sorry I didn't have the equipment to tell you who I really was when I asked you to marry me, but I'm asking you now. And I fully expected her to walk away. She had every right to. But what she did instead was she saw my warts, she saw my grease, she saw my acne, she saw my, whatever metaphor you want to use for the ugliness that our human side, our flesh represents. And she said, I don't care, I love you anyway, and I want to be with you. And when someone does that, when someone knows the worst things about you and loves you despite those things, you're talking about a glimpse of what God has for you on the other side of the curtain. And that's how we can give that to one another. You know, and sure, there are consequences for earthly actions. Believe me, there are. You make a mistake here, there's the consequence. That's the way of the world. But don't let that stop you from growth. Don't let that stop you from being aware of what you can do great and what you don't do so well. And don't be scared to step in to what you don't do so well. The definition of maturity, guys, is holding what's broken and fractured about your life in the world and holding what's joyful and glad about the world and taking a step forward and holding both. And that's what I've tried to learn to do, at least over the last 6 or 7 years of my life. Now, I was hungry. I was hungry to live differently because I had been in the darkness for so long. And when you see how beautiful it is on the other side, you want to keep running. You want to be, you know, Sound of Music type stuff, you know. You want to do that. And that's how I was. I wanted it badly. And I still, you know, I was messy along the way and still am with my wife. I'll have moments with her where, and if you pick up the book, you'll read about 100 of them, where I shame her into doing something that I want, and I have to go back and repent, or I mess it up. And I'm going to keep messing it up. But the truth of the matter is, I want what God has for me while I'm on this planet. I want what God has for me. And I've got to learn to get out of my way. And the ways I do that are by trying to live in the moment well, to spend the next moments with you guys as invested as I can possibly be. And when I leave this place, whoever comes into my path, I'm called to do the same with them, so that at the end of the day, I might change the world by loving people well. And that's really it, you know? I mean, there's no special formula for this, guys, for living like this, for living a life that we're called to live. There's no formula. Now, we have a handbook, obviously, in the Bible, and we try to implement that at every point. You know, I think there's a psalm that says, I've hid the word in my heart that I might not sin against thee. I think it might be Psalm 119. But so sure, we do that. But there's no perfect formula. So radiate grace. Radiate grace in the form of diving into relationship, loving people despite their faults. You never know who you might impact. I won the Cy Young Award yesterday. But the only way that I won that award is because I had people who loved me well, who were willing to pour into me when I was a wretch, with asking nothing in return. And I am a product of that. I am a product of that. I am a product of people who have poured into me in that way and have impacted me. And this is an award that I got yesterday that is meant to be shared. It's meant to be shared with people that I see in here. It's meant to be shared with people who have loved me well outside of here, for who have encouraged me, for other knuckleball pitchers, Phil Necro, Tim Wakefield, Charlie Huff, who gave me pieces of themselves. I added my own personality to the pitch, and here I am. I'm the piece on the game board, but there are a lot of people who have pushed me around the board, believe me, to get to where we are today. So, we got a few more minutes. I'd love if someone had a question to come down and ask, or if you've got something on your heart that you want to share or ask a personal question. I'm here, and I'm as transparent as you'll ever see another human being. So I will give you an authentically honest answer. So with that, thank you. By the way, what you guys, what it meant to sit there and hear you guys be encouraged by my story and by the Cy Young and by people who know me through a friend or have heard me before. Just what you guys radiate to me, thank you for that. What a blessing for me. So here I am being asked to come do something for you. I've gotten the gift here, people. I have. So thank you for that. And with that, I'd like to kind of close that chapter and invite whoever would like to come ask a question to do so.